Meanwhile, over at GB News, what the hell has happened to that channel? GB News really has turned out to be a massive disappointment, hasn't it? Well, it has for me anyway. Because I remember when Andrew Neil announced that GB News was happening and all the Luftwaffe, they were losing their minds because there was going to be a news channel promising to be different to the legacy media, which echoed their sentiments and stifled free speech. And GB News promised to be anything but that. But then there were alarm bells, weren't there? They sacked Mark Stein, and then it was all over for me when they sacked Lawrence Fox and Calvin Robinson and left Dan Wootton in limbo. Because Lawrence Fox said on the Dan Wootton show that she wouldn't sleep with a certain journalist. The same journalist who replied on Twitter to men who called her out on her woke politics that she wouldn't sleep with them. And yet she took great offence to what Lawrence Fox said anyway. Now, it is my opinion from what I've seen that GB News is slowly, very slowly, turning woke. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, the only people worth listening to on that show are Neil Oliver and Nigel Farage. I believe the rest of them are as fake as they come. They truly are the faux patriots that Lawrence Fox said they were. Now, I'm all for free speech, however, I do believe that what some leftists say openly are quite harmful. So the other day they had Amy Nicol-Turner on the Patrick Christys show. He had two other guests on there discussing issues as usual, and so the subject of wrong-uns popped up. And Amy Nicol-Turner said this: do you have any sympathy for people who realise they're attracted to, and I've changed the wording here, the most vulnerable people in society? You know what she meant, I know what she said. And then she said, but I always have. It's something you can't change about yourself, she said. And she continued with, and people feel they can't go to their GP and admit this. And then she went on about why these people shouldn't be demonised. My goodness. Now, I don't know if Amy Nicol-Turner has any children, or any common sense for that matter, but this is it's a sick thing to say. It's a warped way of thinking. And she concluded by saying that these people can be rehabilitated. Now, having done research on this, and having worked with these monsters for 11 years in the prison service, there is absolutely no evidence that these people can be rehabilitated. I know in other countries they are dealt with harshly, but in this country we have a very softly approach to criminals of whatever crime they commit. And I've seen these monsters return to prison time and time again, leaving more victims, the most vulnerable people in society, in their wake. Now, if this was the James Whale show, he'd have got up and escorted them out the studio, if not out the building, because he's good like that. I remember him doing that to Lemmy out of Motorhead back in the 80s, and then he did it with a pro-Hamas terror supporter, former railway union boss and activist on his talk radio show the other evening. So yeah, if you're paying into a union into this country, check to make sure they're not funding and supporting Hamas. And so back to Amy Nicol-Turner. Now, she was challenged by other guests, but Patrick Christys just sat there open-mouthed and said, I can't believe he just said that. He didn't challenge her at all. And quite frankly, I think he would have done much to help save GB News' reputation by escorting her out the building. But no, she sat there and she was allowed to keep saying this. And this clip is still up, by the way, everywhere on social media. I don't think GB News have taken it down, which just goes to show their hypocrisy. Because Lawrence Fox was quite literally fired for saying he wouldn't bed a journalist. And yet there's this idiot saying she has sympathy for the most disgusting people in society. And they're not just disgusting, they're highly dangerous as well. Amy Nicol-Turner was even described by Piers Morgan as a very weak-willed individual. And if you go on her Twitter page, it shows just that. She supports all the right woke causes which targets our most vulnerable in society. So no doubt after this she'll probably get invited onto Loose Women, where she can amplify her warped opinions and views. And there we go. I'm Paz49. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, have a great weekend and Roger Trout.